actually just going to dive right into this. I'm going to show you guys why we are state media, because this is the messaging that has come from our establishment. The second story that we have today is Elon Musk and Twitter with trolling liberals. So they did probably the only decent move they have done since taking over Twitter. They put state affiliated media on NPR, and the liberal establishment has been melting down ever since he did that. And that's 100% true. NPR is state media. The United States, we are the most propagandized country in the world. What we have, and we've done many segments on this on Propaganda Report, is worse than state TV. And people always made an argument. We're gonna show how the liberals' argument toward NPR has been debunked, but they use public funding, and then we shout back at them like, yeah, actually it is government funded. It's funded by taxpayers. But my position is there's too much focus on the funding. So who gives a fuck about the funding? Look at how the United States media works. You have people who work for the CIA who will write op-eds in the New York Times and the Washington Post all the time. How is that worse? How is that not worse than direct government funding? So other countries, they just have direct government funding of their media. Everyone knows the bias. Everyone knows the sources coming from the government. And a lot of times, these states have way more freedom than you do at quote-unquote corporate news networks. But in MSNBC and CNN, when you have an arms dealer, Raytheon, who is advertising on your network, that is responsible for your $30,000 per day paycheck, and then it just so happens that every single news anchor is for every single war and support every single politician that the arms dealer is for. How is that not worse than just basic government-funded state media? It's not. We have both in this country. I spoiled the story. That's our second story today. Those are our two main stories. Feel free to interrupt anytime, guys. I'm gonna do the initial presentation on Finland and NATO, and I'm gonna get you guys in regarding state TV. This is how every single news story is covering Finland join NATO. I'll show you guys a few of these, and I'm gonna ask you guys this question: if the United States media is filled with people who are independent, why do you have multiple news organizations that apparently got completely different creative control use the same damn headline? It happens all the time. Look at this. Finland joins NATO, dealing a blow to Putin. Here's from CNN. Finland joins NATO, doubling military alliance border with Russia in a blow for Putin. In a blow for Putin. All right, that's two. Here's another one. This is from Associated Press. Finland joins NATO in major blow to Russia over Ukraine war. Three different, and I literally just picked three links because I didn't have a lot of time to pick every fucking one. Every single Western media outlet is using the same headline. Are you guys telling me that these three different newsrooms just so happen to have the same idea for a headline? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. This is the state-led, state-fed headline that our government demands these people run. I don't know how they do it, but every single headline, they say this, and they say it's a blow to Putin. Said the country, who prime minister was just elected, placed third place. Finland's economy is in shambles. In polls, it showed that Finland, the number one concern of the voters was the economy, not Ukraine. So you have the Finland prime minister who sells out her country, economy tanks. She loses the election. You have France constantly facing massive protests. Emmanuel Macron lost his majority before that. You literally have protesters trying to guillotine Emmanuel Macron. And the UK can't even keep a damn prime minister. Their economy is in shambles. But tell me more how their actions of the Western leaders is a blow to Russia. Zoya J, Lucy, anyone want to try me? Anything you guys want to add before I continue?
Yeah, I mean, I want to know how it's a blow to Russia because Finland has a population of 5 million and their military is 24,000. I think Russia kills more Ukrainian soldiers in 1 week than the entire Finnish military, like several times over. So I don't know how it's like a blow to Russia, for one thing. I will say though that it is as a part of being a NATO member, you have to put 2% of your GDP for military spending.
Yes.
So it helps the Western defense contractors out.
That's what it's really
It,
about, guys.
yeah, and I mean it's another piece of cannon fodder for NATO. It's not really going to do anything much to Russia, I don't think. But it's probably the worst for Finland. Probably the worst for Finland more than any other country, because if in the unfortunate event all-out war breaks out between Russia and NATO, Finland is a bordering country, literally right there. Like that, they're the first on a chopping block. They're gonna get. It just probably puts them in a worse off situation than they would have been if they didn't join NATO. If they didn't join NATO, they wouldn't be a party to a war at all, except maybe like some minor repercussions for supplying arms to Ukraine. But now that they're in NATO, like they're a direct party to whatever conflict that NATO enters, if should they ever enter.
I've been watching the propaganda regarding Finland joining NATO for about over a year now. It has been insane, the lies that are being told, and the Finnish population is also being heavily propagandized, as explained on Democracy Now! When they had a debate with a Swedish peace activist who was debating one of the Green Party people in the Green Party of Finland who swapped their position. Do you guys know? And this is what they're saying. They're saying we need Finland to join NATO because we need Finland to be protected in case Putin snaps again and invade Finland. Finland already get security assurances as a member of the EU. You guys know that? Every single media story on this completely obscures that point. And that's the point that the peace activist was making in Finland. That's the point that the Green Party in Finland used to make before they sold out. Before now, and then last year, all of a sudden, the Green Party of Finland switched their position on this. Here, I kind of spoiled it. Feel free to interrupt, guys, if you guys want to chime in on anything. I'm going to share a few things here. Look, this is January 2022. Finnish Greens shift in favor of NATO. And then you know they're full of shit because I look at their argument, and their argument makes no sense. No sense at all. Finland, just like Ukraine, de facto NATO countries. What happened when Ukraine was invaded by Russia? Did the West allow Ukraine to fall? No, they provided a ton of weapons, equipment. They sent CIA operatives. They had Secret Service people. They had all these officials from the UK that was there. Intelligence people. I mean, not Secret Service. Intelligence people that was down there. So if Russia invaded Finland would either get the same thing plus the insurances they get from being a member of the EU state. So the argument that these hawkish center-left right-wingers and now the Greens are making, who market themselves as social democrats, right? Back in 2018, they said Finland has no reason to apply for NATO membership. I'm trying to find. Let's see if I can find. There's a quote where.
Well, it's kind of funny because Trump mentioned that he wanted to leave NATO because the U.S. provides much more than the 2% in military spending.
Yeah, he wanted to do more.
We were providing security for Europe when we're on the other side of the lake. Literally, it doesn't really benefit us at all. Which, it's interesting because that's like kind of a conservative position, but more of an isolationist position. Whereas a lot of these liberals are saying, no, we want to be part of NATO in order to, I don't know, contribute to the world or something, even though we're not really doing anything for the world.
Their arguments make no sense.
Yeah, and like
I'm gonna read this quote and I'll pass to you, Jay, because I found what I was looking for. This is part of the arguments. You have Alvina Alamets. She's one of the members of the Finnish Green Party that played a large part of helping them switch their position. She told in an interview, this is that after long consideration, she had reached the conclusion that NATO membership would secure Finland's independence. Who the fuck believes that? And then she also said, and it would strengthen peace. Bro, this is the number one tell that they are bullshitting you. They said them joining NATO would strengthen peace. Where Russia views that as one of the few things Finland could do that could provoke conflict, and they warned them of this a year ago. Now Putin and Russia warned about retaliation after them joining now because they doubled NATO's border. So when you say that, hey, if Finland joining NATO strengthens peace in the region, that inherently makes no sense, considering the geopolitical ramifications of such a thing, where Finland, just like Sweden, will be breaking their decades-long contract of neutrality and their willingness to be a neutral buffer state between the West and the East. But how will it strengthen peace? So I'm only reading that so you guys can hear the argument that these frauds are making that makes no sense. So the people on the left, center left, you have the Greens in Finland. They're like, oh man, we are for this because we are generally anti-war. We are pro-peace. So in order to be pro-peace, we got to join NATO. The offensive military organization. But hey, Marianne Williamson, she's gonna quote the Green Party of Europe in order to support her position on NATO. That's the state of the left. And I want to. This is the many contradictions, many stuff they say that make no sense. And I'm gonna show you this. This is why I meant to show earlier. This is Russia's. Russia threatens to take retaliatory steps following Finland's NATO announcement. So the question I have for you guys, was Russia planning to do anything against Finland or take any sort of retaliatory steps against them if they did not join NATO? So the reason that Putin gave, one of the reasons for invading Ukraine, is because Ukraine seek NATO membership, violated the Minsk Accords. That's just one of the many reasons. The Western media likes to deny this, but that is the prime reason. So the only thing that would draw his ire is what? Finland joined NATO, which is the argument that Finnish peace activists have been making. Because I was curious. That's why I found this debate. I'm not going to show it because I covered it months ago. I don't know if you guys remember. I covered it a long time ago, this debate where Finnish and Swedish peace activists, what is their position? I'm American. What do I know? So I looked at their position. That was their argument years ago. And there were people last year that was to this day making that argument. And the person on Democracy Now, she said you wouldn't believe the amount of propaganda that's being hit with to people in Sweden and Finland right now. People who are opposed to join NATO are being smeared as pro-Putin apologists. The same thing that happened in the United States. So that number was around 45-55 in favor. Now that number flipped. It's around 70% now because they've been hit with extreme propaganda and quote-unquote leftists, like what happened in the United States, saying stuff that makes no sense. I'm gonna explain one thing they say that make no sense. And I'm going to get Zoe here because I know you got a lot to say on this. They will say stuff like this. They will say, look at the war in Ukraine. Putin miscalculated. Look at the weak Russian army. They said it was going to take over Ukraine in 2 weeks. He never said that. they said they're going to take over Ukraine. They're struggling. They can't even do anything. They lost so many soldiers. They can't even beat Ukraine. Russia has been exposed as weak and ineffective. That has been the messaging coming from the West. But also, on the other hand, if you listen to propaganda in Sweden and Finland and CNN, New York Times, and NPR, they will say that Finland has to join NATO in order to stop the lethal threat of Russia. So anyone who's paying attention, the obvious question is, how does that make any sense? Because when they bolster and they talk shit about Russia, they're weak. But when they want to scare you about Russia, all of a sudden Russia about to knock on your door. I'll pass to the panel after this because I told you guys I was talking to a good faith friend. He's not like a shit lib or anything. But he said something before where he said, yeah, actually we were having a discussion. I try to be light because I'm not trying to like own my friends. So I was just explaining some things he was getting wrong. Where he was like, yo, we take down Putin invading Russia. I was literally saying like he was saying if we don't stop Putin in Russia, what's gonna stop him from invading Europe? And I was like, bro, come on, bro. Putin is not. I was trying to explain. I try to be nice to my friend. Like he's not going to. How we invade Europe if he's struggling in Ukraine? Because he one of the people that saying that Putin was losing. I was like, if Putin is losing Ukraine, what threat is to Europe? You got to think about it. It doesn't make sense. It's the classic propaganda trope of our enemies are feeble and weak and incompetent, but also all-knowing and all-powerful. The classic propaganda techniques you see repeat themselves over and over again. So I'll start with Zoya. I'll open the panel for any discussion. I got a few more things to share, and then we move on. I want to keep this around an hour or so. So, Zoya, anything you want to add? If not,
yeah, if you don't mind sharing the link from our chat.
Yeah, Zoya always with the receipts. Which one we want to do first, the BBC one or the Twitter?
Yeah, BBC's fast. Let's remember that Finland was helping the Nazis during World War II.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of old alliances resurface. You know how history repeats. So that if you could just click that closed on the X.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I was looking at. I was doing some producing shit. So sorry. Go ahead.
Finland's Air Force quietly dropped swastika symbol and
I remember that.
Yeah, not so long ago. So all this time, Finland thought it was totally cool to keep swastikas in their military. It was on their planes. It was official, and they just quietly, like in 2020, decided to shift gears. They're like,
Zoya is love. Zoya is life. What do we see? I know we got another one, but this says everything. Look at the influence of the United States. The influence of the United States. You got Imperial Japan that is back. Japan's foreign pacifism after their crimes against humanity in China, and then the United States said, "Fuck that shit. Ramp your military up. We're going to war with China." Japan, like, all right. Now you got the Nordic countries going back to their warrior roots. Going back to the pro-Nazi roots. You got Germany, who remilitarized. You see what the influence of NATO and the United States is? I know you have another one. Anyone else want to chime in? Just going once, going twice? No worries.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Zoya.
Yeah, we go Jay and then Zoya. Jay, and then I'll pass to you, Zoya, for the next receipt. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. Yeah, I mean, going back earlier, why the fuck do people think that Russia wants to go to war with Europe? Because if you look at what the trades are like, Poland is probably I think the third biggest trade partner of Russia, and Eastern Europeans get a lot of their energy dependence. Even after the sanctions, they still get a lot of supplies from Russia. Right now, if you want uranium, Russia has the highest uranium mine. If we use uranium in this country, chances are we're getting it from Russia one way or the other. If we're getting it directly from Russia, or we're getting it through some intermediary or whatever. So just when it comes to interdependence of trade, Russia needs Europe and Europe needs Russia, or vice versa. To the idea that this is that we're going to go to war, it's just that Russia has these imperialist ambitions is just more projection from America. And the other thing I wanted to say was about NATO. I think when the first Secretary General of NATO said that NATO was created to keep the Russians out, keep the Soviets out, the Americans in, and the Germans down. And around 74 years later, that's still just as true as ever. We blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. We are absolutely trying to fucking go to war with Russia at every opportunity, including trying to get membership for Georgia. And even more recently, they opened the door to India, India of all places, to join NATO. India is nowhere close to the Atlantic. Why are they joining NATO? Well, they're not joining, but they were given the invitation to join. And also their history of rehabilitating World War II era Nazis. I got a bunch of German names here. I'm not, I can't pronounce German pretty well, but a lot of them are Hitler's right-hand men who ended up in SS pilots and high-ranking positions that ended up becoming in high-ranking positions of NATO. So NATO is essentially the Fourth Reich, is what it is at the end of the day.
So the main talking point, I'll pass to you, Zoe, after this, that liberals have, and they're saying now, they say, Putin, I thought Finland joined NATO was your red flag. I thought you wouldn't do anything if you wouldn't join NATO. See, that's now the fact that they're not doing anything now. Finland joined NATO is proof that the fact that Ukraine wanted to join NATO is not true, and Putin actually wanted to invade and kill people. There's actually no threat. They said the fact that Putin claims that Russia is threatened by NATO encroachment on the border is unfounded. This is what liberals, they said that the threat of NATO encroachment and Western encroachment on the border, unfounded. You have a pro-Nazi organization that is supporting a Nazi militia on their border. Their mission statement is openly to cleanse Russian culture from the border and kill ethnic Russians. Nazis, also the same people that killed millions, tens of millions of Russians during World War II. But according to liberals and Western chauvinists, Russia has no right to feel threatened by NATO, a pro-Nazi organization shoring up, and now they got half of their border. Like, this is the messaging coming from them. But Zoya, I know you want to chime in, and then I can get Lucy in there after you. Zoya, I'll pass to you.
It's also funny how countries that were formerly part of the USSR keep accusing Russia of things that the USSR did, which they were a part of. And
Yeah.
And it's no accident that just like Finland, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, all of these countries, who did they support during World War II? Just always ask yourself that question. Do a Google search, and once you see the swastikas, just notice the swastika countries are realigning. And their agreements are always with Russia, but we all know who beat the Nazis in World War II.
Well, so anything else you want to add before I move on to the next part? Sorry, Zoya.
No, yeah, one last thing. Putin tried to join NATO twice. So if their intention was war, there would be no reason for that. And a lot of people don't know that. And that last receipt that I posted, it's just a sample of Ukrainian propaganda on Finland.
Yeah, I'm going to share this, and then I'll pass to you, Lucy, if you have anything you want to add. I'll see. It says, Finland is officially joined NATO today. Oh, look at this Call of Duty guy. This is the site most feared by every Russian man. Oh, Jesus. Come on. They're so aggressive with it. An angry Finnish soldier rushing towards you on skis. Now, another important point, and this was Zoya and Jay was chiming on as well. This is only going to hurt Finland. Ever since Finland had joined the board of Russian sanctions and aggressive Russian posture, there had been an energy crisis. And what I said before, the number one concern for voters was the economy in Finland. So do you think this decision has been made with the best best intention of the Finnish people? Hell, look, they're glamorizing the idea of Finnish people fighting and dying with Russia here. So, Lucy, anything you want to add before I move on, or I'll pass to you real quick.
Well, I think that video I saw was about how Russia. Well, the interesting thing is that on the video where they showed the Russian response, was that well, first of all, they accurately said that this is an escalation, right? Because Finland is right on the border with Russia, so it's actually like the Finnish-Russian border is like the U.S.-Mexico border in terms of the amount of immigrants and stuff that go to Europe through Russia. And now the Russians are providing Belarus with ground troops, tactical missiles to strike with conventional and nuclear missiles. And my guess is they might be pointed right at Finland.
That's the point. It just doesn't make them safer, and it's so ridiculous. That's a great point, Lucy. I'm glad you brought that up because that's just another example of how the people who made the argument that they must do this to secure peace in the region, secure their safety, come 100% full of shit. It's so crazy.
And to underline the point you guys are making, now if, let's say, there is some kind of conflict between Russia and NATO, Finland is the closest target. That's what Marin delivered to her people.
And she's going to be taken care of.
But it's okay because now they're building a border wall. Build the wall, just like in America.
Build the wall.
I mean, she might go down in history as the next Zelensky. Like, imagine being responsible for evicting your entire country.
And meanwhile, the economy is having negative growth and the cost of living has skyrocketed, just like in most of Europe, thanks to sanctioning Russian energy.
But it was a blow to Putin, guys. A massive blow. As British expands, as Russia continued to expand trade deals, make military deals with South Africa and other nations. But it was a blow to Putin as Finland economy suffers. But go ahead, Jay. I know you want to chime in.
I mean, it's funny because Mexico is one of the countries that is considering joining BRICS, and how is that not a blow to America when their southern border? Oh, it's not even a military alliance, first of all. It's an economic alliance. They're getting closer to China, Russia, and the other BRICS countries, the global South countries, getting away from the American sphere of influence. How is that not a blow to America?
Speaking of AMLO, you have AMLO that led an alliance to condemn the Cuban blockade. How is that not a blow to the United States? You have AMLO that called out the United States prosecution of Julian Assange and called the United States a hypocrite for calling Russia a war criminal. How is that not a blow to the United States? AMLO been ripping them motherfuckers to shreds